Welcome to Preventing Overdiagnosis 2025. Welcome to the University of Oxford, the Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine, in this wonderful examination schools. It brings back memories for me. I did my medical exams here about 30 years ago, so I'm getting old at this moment in time. A few announcements for everybody. First is you should all have access to the app. Yeah, that gives you your schedule, keynote speakers, where you should be. I guess because you're all here, you probably do have access. The dinner is not here, it's at Keble College. That's tomorrow. There are still a couple of spaces left if you want to go. We've got drinks tonight at 5:30. There are no expected fire drills, but I'm warned, be careful as you walk in the doors. Because of the mats, it's wet, it is a little bit slippery. And lunch and posters, and as you've seen, coffee are through. This is the South Schools, that is the North Schools. So, we're here in Preventing Overdiagnosis. We were last here in Oxford in 2014. So it's about every decade we get to come back here. So number one mission is when I come back in 10 years' time, I'm going to be sat there in the audience thinking we've solved a lot of the issues that we face in healthcare right now. Largely because of the people in this room are going to help us take some of these issues forward. We've got workshops, seminars and talks. We'll hear all about the incentives and drivers, some of the issues about communication and direct-to-consumer testing, and thinking about clinical practice and public health. But I think one of the key issues for me is, as I've gone through this cycle now of evidence-based practice, overdiagnosis, I have a grave sense that things right now are getting slightly worse, if not a lot worse. We have an overload of tech, new ways of testing, artificial intelligence. Indeed, yesterday in the BMJ, the outgoing president of the radiology, Catherine Halliday, said AI might risk an increase in overdiagnosis. So it's out there. She said 56% of the workload who were using AI found no change in the workload, and 37% said it was increasing their workload. So many of these new techs are about doing more, and in a world where we think more is better. But actually, we're also in a world where earlier is better too. And I think it's fair for us to say, one of the key issues I've seen in healthcare over the last decade is we haven't seen many new treatments come along that have improved the landscape of healthcare. As a general practitioner, the only treatment that's probably come along in the last 10 years is probably one of the new oral anticoagulants, which doesn't improve outcomes but reduces the monitoring that came with warfarin. If you think about that, so the new landscape is looking into, actually, well, if only we diagnose conditions earlier, if only we diagnose more people, then surely we can improve healthcare. But I think that's the task we're now faced with. In a world where the global testing market is currently about $250 billion right now, it is projected to double in the next 10 years to about 500 billion. So that's the landscape of where we're heading. Do we think all of that testing will improve outcomes? Do we think all of that testing will be directed in the right way and lead to the right treatments and the right effective treatments? Now, yesterday, I was a bit gloomy about where we are in the world and the issues we face in healthcare. Boy, do we have a lot of problems here in the NHS in the UK. I could wax on about the 7 million people on waiting lists, or I could talk to you about the new AI initiatives that are going to solve all that. But in doing so, they said don't make everybody gloomy when you start this talk. But actually, I did realise that actually 10 years ago, 12 years ago actually, and we'll hear about 12 years on tomorrow, is overdiagnosis was not even on the landscape. It wasn't even talked about. People didn't understand what it meant and what the issues are. But it's now difficult not to see within a trial about screening that overdiagnosis is always referred to these days. We've had the World Health Organization involved in this organization through the years. So throughout that 12-year period, there has been a lot of sort of increase in the awareness of what overdiagnosis is. And even this week, even in the mainstream media, they're reporting overdiagnosis of children overlooks that growing up is messy and uneven. So the problem we face is a world where medicalizing a population is trying to become the norm. In doing so, what can you do? You can increase the number of services, the number of tests you can sell to the population. That's a strategy for growth that I've seen emerge probably in this decade. We, therefore, have a remit, and it's nice to see some old faces from 2014 who were there at that time, but there are many new faces in the room. In doing so, there's been a messy collaboration that stuck together for about 15 years ago with no formal structure, no money, but plenty of hope. In doing so, it's because there's lots of like-minded individuals in the room who are really interested in trying to improve healthcare from a basis of stopping harms in the first place. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't get you all the research dollars. And we're sat in a university that is actually, from a tech position, from a new development position, is taking on board huge sums of money. And I was just talking with Kirsten there, and not a percentage of that wants to go into applied healthcare and thinking, how do you prevent the harms of all this new tech? I do think, though, the world will change. And why will it change? Because healthcare services are going to run out of money. And they're already running out of money, and they're going to run out very soon. We've invested 20 billion more money, and it's likely not to deliver any new benefits unless we target and improve how we deliver tests. So, the mission for everybody is to start to think about the next decade, how we're going to spend the next decade trying to improve the targeting of testing and wind back the harms of too much medicine, and think about preventing overdiagnosis. And with that note, I want to say to you, have a great 3 days. Any problems, the teams are here to help you. And I am going to hand over to the next session to Kirsten McCaffrey and Thomas Kuline, who are going to introduce incentives, drivers, and mitigation of overdiagnosis and overtreatment. Thank you very much. Have a great time.